Get ready to hear the truth about America. A news show that isn't allergic to the facts. The Bold Conservative. Now, here's your host, James Ledbetter.
Good morning to all my bold conservatives out there. Today, we have a stacked show for you. William Barr says that John Durham is investigating more than the FBI. He's investigating private actors outside of the FBI. This is getting deep, folks. Hang on to your MAGA hats. This is the Bold Conservative Show.
I felt this was very flimsy. These omissions were not satisfactorily explained. And I think that leaves open the possibility to infer bad faith. I think our nation was turned on its head for 3 years. I think based on a completely bogus narrative that was largely fanned and hyped by an irresponsible press. And I think that there were gross abuses of FISA and inexplicable behavior that is intolerable in the FBI. It was clearly spied upon. I mean, that's what electronic surveillance is. I think wiring people up to go in and talk to people and make recordings of their conversations is spying.
So, as you heard, A.G. Barr, William Barr, knows that there was more than what I.G. Horowitz came up with in his report. In other words, there were private actors, private entities, and agencies beyond the FBI that were involved in this FISA abuse scandal. And according to the Daily Caller, Attorney General William Barr provided new details Wednesday of U.S. Attorney John Durham's investigation of the origins of the Trump-Russia probe, and said in an interview on Fox News that the federal prosecutor is looking into the activities of federal agencies outside the FBI, as well as those of private actors. And William Barr said this: he's not just looking at the FBI, Barr said of Durham. He's looking at other agencies and also private actors. So it's a much broader investigation, than we previously thought. So all this time, we've been waiting on the IG report to come out, Horowitz, and we've been waiting. And Horowitz pretty much let us down. Horowitz basically claimed that there was no clear bias in the FBI when obtaining the FISA warrant, which was a lie. Because we all heard the Lisa Page, Peter Strzok text. We all heard all of the statements that these FBI agents, these rogue FBI agents made. We all heard this. So it's not like we haven't heard and read these text messages. So I don't understand why Horowitz decided to make that claim. So Barr said there was clear bias, and not only in the FBI, but outside the FBI, private actors and other agencies that were involved in this. So Barr did not elaborate on which private actors, though. He didn't give any names. He didn't give any names of any organizations. He simply said that that Durham is investigating the private actors. So Barr tapped Durham, as you recall, the U.S. attorney in Connecticut in May to investigate federal agencies' surveillance and investigative activities related to the Trump campaign. Durham's probe has ran parallel to the Justice Department Inspector General's investigation into the FBI's surveillance of former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. And as you know, Carter Page has some lawsuits going because he was wrongly implicated in a lot of this. But that being said, Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, found extensive evidence of sufficient inaccuracies, if that's the words I'm looking for, in the FBI's applications for Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which is what FISA stands for, and the warrants against Page. The application, which applied heavily on information from the unverified Steele dossier, asserted there was probable cause to suspect that Page was a Russian agent. So, as I've said in many podcasts, in many shows, in many episodes, the Steele dossier was, in fact, the catalyst for the FISA warrant. In other words, and I.G. Horowitz actually admitted that there would be no FISA warrant if it weren't for the Steele dossier. Now, all of the liberal media is trying to convince you and I that there was no bias, that the Steele dossier was not the determining factor in the issuance of the FISA warrant, which we know is a lie. And I.G. Horowitz pretty much said so. He literally said so when Senate was interviewing him and asking him about the report. So Horowitz also found that FBI failed to disclose exculpatory information about Page and derogatory information about Christopher Steele, the former British spy. Yes, you heard that right. The former British spy who wrote the dossier. Steele worked in 2016 on behalf of Fusion GPS, an opposition research firm hired by the Clinton campaign and the DNC. So the DNC worked with a foreign actor, a foreign spy, a British spy at that, in getting information and opposition research against President Trump. And for 2.5 years, well, 3 years, might as well say 3 years, we heard over and over and over again from the rampant, crazy media that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. So what about the DNC? What about the Hillary Clinton campaign who colluded with a British spy in order to stir up dirt on then presidential candidate Donald Trump? We don't hear anything about that from CNN and MSNBC. You don't hear Adam Schiff getting up there wondering why that was occurring. We know that occurred. That is a fact. That's not something that, we're guessing at. That is what I.G. Horowitz said. So the Horowitz report debunked one of the Steele dossier's main allegations of Trump-Russia collusion, that former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen visited Prague in August of 2016 to meet with Kremlin operatives to discuss paying off hackers. The report said the allegation was not true. So, the report said that it was not true. And every time we heard Michael Cohen speak, Michael Cohen denied ever going to Prague. In other words, Michael Cohen said he's never been to Prague. There are no airline ticket records. There are no travel records. There's no records whatsoever of Michael Cohen ever visiting Prague. much less to meet with Kremlin operatives to discuss paying off hackers. So, as insane as that was, the liberal media went crazy claiming that Michael Cohen, that sources told them that what sources? What sources were they referring to? What sources told them that Michael Cohen visited Prague? So not only did we have the IG report debunking that myth, that conspiracy theory, but we also had the Mueller report debunk that conspiracy theory. But the left still keeps going on, trying to claim that the Steele dossier is accurate, that the Steele dossier somehow is more important than it really was, in other words. And as I've said before, Steele, Christopher Steele, Bruce Orr, the husband of Natalie Orr, who worked for Fusion GPS, kept warning the FBI that a lot of the information in the dossier was inaccurate. But you won't hear that from CNN either. So we're pretty much going by these reports and not by what CNN or MSNBC tells us today. So Horowitz also said the FBI wasn't able to corroborate Steele's allegations that Page was part of a well-developed conspiracy of cooperation, in the dreaded air quotes, involving the Trump campaign and Russia. Steele told the FBI in early of October 2016 that he believed one of the main sources of the allegation was a boaster and prone to embellishment. So there you have it, folks. So Barr said Wednesday that Durham is looking at issues beyond the FBI's FISA application. Also, he's not just looking at the FISA aspect of it. He is looking at all of the conduct, both before and after the election, Barr said. Excuse me. So what we're waiting on here, we're waiting on Durham to conclude his investigation. And Barr said in the interview that he believes that the IG report was on how it happened or why it happened. But the Durham report is looking into deeper aspects of this. He's looking into what started it, who was behind this crazy investigation that took millions of taxpayers' money, that took millions that could have been used for something better, more important. But we have the FBI, the CIA, and I've said it before. If you recall, I don't like John Brennan, but John Brennan actually warned James Comey not to include the Steele dossier in with the FISA warrant. And that's not excusing John Brennan of anything he's ever said, because John Brennan was one of the major players in convincing the American left that Donald Trump colluded with Russia to undermine the 2016 elections. See, it's all about the 2016 elections and who actually won. They did not want President Trump to win. President Trump won. So now you have all of these crazy deep state actors coming out of the woodwork, claiming that they had evidence that Donald Trump colluded with Russia, that Donald Trump was Putin's right-hand man, was his puppet, which was crazy. Then you had Rachel Maddow, who kept claiming that Russia was going to shut down the power grids and blamed it all on Trump. See, Everything that the left has done, and as you know now, the DNC hired Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS to come up with this, which was collusion in and of itself. Well, as you know, collusion alone is not a crime. Anybody can talk to any foreign person at any time. It's not a crime. However, they kept claiming that it was a crime, and they kept trying to pin this collusion thing on Trump, as you know. For 2.5 years. 2.5 years we heard all of these crazy conspiracy theories. Now we're about to get down to the bottom of it. Because John Durham, when they're talking about private actors and other agencies, they're talking about agencies outside the FBI that were at play in this ridiculous madness. They are talking about private actors like perhaps John Durham. I mean, not John Durham, but John Brennan, who was a big part in this. They all hate this president with a passion. They hate him so much that they're willing to look like fools, coming up with lies, conspiracy theories. They're willing to look like fools just to try and take a little bit of winning away from him, which has failed miserably, as you know. So here we are, 2019, going into 2020. President Trump, his approval ratings are skyrocketing. So you have President Trump's approval ratings skyrocketing. CNN ratings are down. MSNBC ratings are down. Fox News rates higher than both CNN and MSNBC put together. So obviously, the left is doing something wrong. And not only that, with this impeachment inquiry and this impeachment garbage, think about it for a minute. There are reports going around, polls going around, that the American people as a whole, the majority of the American people are against impeachment. The majority of the American people, and this is Democrats and Republicans. This is not just a Republican poll that we're talking about. We're talking about Republicans, Democrats, liberals. We're not talking about the alt left, because they're so full of Trump derangement syndrome, it's crazy. We're talking about the moderate Democrats. We have Democrats in Congress leaving the Democrat Party, going to the Republican Party. Some are going independent. The Democrats are losing. They're losing a battle that they can never win. Because let's just say, okay, they impeach President Trump. Okay, they have to go through the Senate. The Senate is going to call witnesses that, and Chucky Schumer, $2 Chuck, he's already crying. He's already crying about the mistreatment of the minority. And then you had, let's see, who was that? You had several, actually, there's not just one of them. There were several members of the Republican Congress that asked Chuck Schumer to join the club. Join the club. Because think about this. Think about the way the Democrats treated the Republicans in Congress. They wouldn't let them attend any of these closed-door basement meetings, these secret meetings that they had with all of these so-called witnesses, these opinion witnesses that had no facts. Nothing they said was based on any facts. Everything they said was based on opinion. So you had the Democrat Congress meeting secretly in a basement, and forbidding Republicans from even attending, which is insane. So now that the shoe is on the other foot, Chuck Schumer is crying and trying to get the sympathy of the American people. Look how they're treating us. We're the minority. We have minority rights. What about the Republicans during the Congress meetings? They apparently didn't have any rights, according to Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff was the main player in this. Adam Schiff, the one that misquoted the transcripts to begin with, and literally made it sound like some mob boss mafioso, when all President Trump was doing was congratulating him on his victory in the election over there. And so now the Democrats want to complain about the way they're being treated in the Senate, which is, hey, join the club. I'm with the Republicans on that one, because look at the way you treated them. So here's the thing. They're probably going to impeach President Trump in the Congress, make themselves look like fools. Then it's going to go through the Senate, and they're going to acquit President Trump. That's unless some strange evidence comes forward, which I highly doubt. There's no evidence because it wasn't done. We have the transcripts. We've read them. We've read the first batch of transcripts. Then we read the official transcripts, which President Trump released during the hearings themselves. And that really put a damper. But see, what you have as far as the Democrats go, you have all of the higher up Democrats threatening the lower totem pole Democrats, saying that if they do not toe the line, they will be replaced by Democrats that will toe the line. They will send Democrats, and they will rise up Democrats to run against these Democrats. So the Democrats have to do it because the Democrats want to do it. They don't. And the other day I was listening to an interview by Tulsi Gabbard, and she said at first she was for the investigation of the impeachment, investigation into the President Trump phone call, the transcript. Then, as time further progressed and she realized that there was no evidence that Trump committed any crime whatsoever, then she started having doubts. And she said this in front of liberal college people in college and liberal colleges. And to my surprise, they were all nodding in agreement. So here's the thing. The Democrats do not have the leg to stand on that they claim that they have. They do not have anything as far as evidence. We've heard that through all the hearings. So that being said, the Democrats have absolutely no reason to impeach the president. They're doing it because they want to, because President Trump will not obey them, will not do what they want him to do. So getting back to this Russia investigation by Durham. Durham is the man. Durham is going to investigate this properly because, as you know, I.G. Horowitz is an Obama appointee. He's been there since the Obama administration. He's not a Republican. You can tell by the way these actors, these investigators act. He's not a Republican as far as I'm concerned. Here's the thing. So now we have a Trump-appointed assistant attorney general investigating the origins of the Russia probe. We need to know, number one, how this all started. And that's what Durham's looking into. Basically, you had I.G. Horowitz saying why it started, and most of his reports were inaccurate. Now you have Durham investigating when and who was involved. And I, for one, I can't wait for this to be released, because I'm going to spend all day reading everything like I usually do. And here's the thing. Durham is being silent for a reason, because if he comes out and he gives anything on this, it'll give the Democrats time to lie and try to debunk what's going on. They're already bashing William Barr, and then the New York Bar Association is demanding that William Barr recuse himself in the phone calls, which is, I'm starting to wonder, these bars association, do these bar associations have a little bit too much power? Because now they're trying to push some sort of a narrative, and it's starting to make me wonder, are they majority Democrats? Because you had them demanding that Barr recuse himself. Why would he do that? Why would Barr recuse himself from an investigation he's in charge of? Because they know that Barr is onto something. They know that Barr is going to figure them out. And it's only a matter of time. Seriously. So there you have it, folks. You have A.G. Barr, you have John Durham on the attack, on the investigation. They're on the case, so we can rest easy knowing that President Trump will be exonerated of all these foolish charges. He already has been. But see, here's the thing. You already know that this is not going to be the end of it. Once this is debunked completely, like the Russia hoax was, once this is debunked, they'll find something else. They hate President Trump with a passion. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep going, and they're going to keep trying to find things to accuse him of. And honestly, it's an eye opener when you realize that usually what they accuse President Trump of, if you think long and hard about it for a minute, they just committed whatever it was that they accused President Trump of. They was accusing President Trump of collusion with a foreign government, with foreign actors. What did Hillary Clinton and DNC do? They colluded with foreign actors, a British spy of all people. It wasn't like this was just some random guy. This was a British spy, trained in surveillance, trained in spying. So they paid a British spy to spy on the Trump campaign. And ironically, everything that he come up with was a lie. Especially the Michael Cohen going to Prague. That was debunked quickly, very quickly. So ask yourselves this. Why are the Democrats still claiming that the Steele dossier is accurate? It's unverified, it remains unverified, and it stays unverified. There's no way to verify anything in there anymore. Once we've literally debunked everything, literally every one of us, we have went through the Steele dossier with a fine-tooth comb, picking parts out that are obvious lies, and the ones that weren't obvious have been debunked. Everything has been debunked, but listen to them. I know how hard it is to listen to the liberal alt-left media bash Trump, but just listen to them. Listen to the way they talk about the Steele dossier. Listen to them trying to bring back the Russia thing, because the media, the liberal media, was making bukus of money during this Russia hoax. Then once it was debunked, they all started losing viewers because they were lying. And the American people eventually wake up. Even if there are Democrats, they like Tulsi Gabbard. She's woken up. She's completely in awe that this is going on. And she told that same audience that what if she became president and they impeached President Trump and she became president? Then the Republicans would retaliate and do the same thing to her, which is true. If you do this to President Trump over no evidence, every president from now on will be impeached. It'll just keep bouncing back and forth. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I thank you all for listening. You've all been great. You've all been wonderful. Tune in tomorrow because we have a stacked show tomorrow as well. I thank you all for listening.